Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. I do kind of a fun video here, a little bit different than what kind of the usual. Although a while back I did do my top 10 favorite vocalists, and so this is kind of along similar lines. Later down the road we'll do a bass video, we'll do a drummer video, maybe a keyboard video. I don't know. But I mean, in rock and roll discussions, it often does come down to the guitar, right? The electric guitar or acoustic, but the guitarist. I'm going to rank my 25 favorite guitar players. Now, just real quick on sort of my philosophy and how I approach this, okay? Obviously, stuff on my channel, stuff on all these other channels, I mean, it's opinion, especially on something like this. I mean, how do you know, objectively, you know, come up with some mathematical formula or, tubes in a science lab, to figure out some way, definitively the greatest guitar players. I mean, you don't. It's a matter of taste. Like with the vocalists, it's kind of some intangibles here. It's kind of personality. It's sort of character in the playing, unusual playing. I do admire innovation. I guess what one sort of criteria I often pick for a great guitar player is even if I don't know it's them, say they're guesting on someone else's song and I hear the song for the first time and I don't know who's on it, I hear that guitar player, it's like, that's X, that's so and so. I mean, just by the guitar playing, some great guitar players have a style or a tone or whatever that is so distinct. It's like hearing a voice. Let's get into the list. All right. At number 25 and 24, I've got two guys that both played in the same band, but obviously different eras. But I admire both of them. Some people, I think right off the bat, some people are going to question my my logic here. But at 25, I have Steve Howe of Yes. And at 24, I got Trevor Rabin of Yes, 80s Yes. Yes, yes, I'm a fan of 80s Yes. I love 80s Yes. I love all Yes, but I really dig 80s Yes. And Trevor Rabin is an amazing guitar player. But both those guys, I mean, that could be a tie at the end of the list if it makes you feel better. That's fine. Howe and Rabin. Oh, I'll also try and pick one song that I think, I don't know if it's their best song, but one song that I think really demonstrates their guitar prowess. For Steve Howe, I'd pick Starship Trooper, and then Trevor Rabin, I'd probably go with Changes from 90125. At number 23, in my younger days, I would have had this guy way higher, but I don't know. There's other guitar players I kind of like to listen to more than him, although it doesn't take away from his greatness at all. Be Stevie Ray Vaughan. I would put probably Rude Mood off his debut. It's a great example of his playing. At number 22, I've got Dickie Betts from the Allman Brothers Band. The guy, I know Dwayne Allman gets, I think, more love as a guitar player, but the fact that when those two guys were playing together, a lot of times you couldn't tell the difference tells you how great of a player Dickie Betts is, right? Um, and Dickie Betts was with the Allman Brothers Band a lot longer than Dwayne was. But if I'm picking an example, I'd probably send you over to Jessica, a great instrumental from Brothers and Sisters, kind of a showcase for Dickie. Number 21, another great jam band guitar player, Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. Now I know he can be kind of divisive. Sometimes there are a lot of people who don't like his playing. There are a lot of people who think his playing sort of meanders and kind of noodling. I really dig it. I think I mean, he's not to me. He's not on all the time, but when he is on, it's really innovative and he's exploring some cool things. I don't know if I'm picking a song. I really like Terrapin Station. Um, Real kind of smooth lines. I love that just that kind of opening section, that little riff that he keeps playing through. I mean, to me that's like this kind of flowing style of Garcia perfectly. At number 20, I have the Edge of U2. I know, I, I know there's not as much love for U2 in recent years. I'm gonna be one of those guys who's gonna defend U2. I really, I've always loved them, and I still do. Anyway, we'll probably talk U2 at some point. We're just talking about guitar players now, but use of effects and just the innovation. If I had to pick a song, I'm picking a very specific song, which is Bad, but the live version of Bad on the EP Wide Awake in America. That's the one that I think really shows Edge's great playing. At number 19, I think there's a guy who greatly influenced Edge. That would be Andy Summers of the Police. Also a kind of a brilliant player of kind of moods and atmospheres and great use of effects. Um, to really fill out the sound of what is essentially an instrumental trio, the Police. And U2 is too. I mean, Bono just sings, so you really just got three instrumentalists there. So the guitar players in both of those bands, I think, really kind of brilliantly fill out that sound. All right, number 18 and 17, I've got two guys that overlapped in the same band in a lot of respects, or for a long period of time, starting in the 80s. At number, let's see, 18, I would have Adrian Belew. And at number 17, I have Robert Fripp. They, of course, played together in King Crimson from the 80s into the early 2000s. I guess we'll start with Belew. But Adrian Belew played with a lot of other people, too. Great work with Talking Heads, for instance. If I'm picking a tune to represent Belew, I'd probably go with Elephant Talk off of Discipline for King Crimson, because it's kind of shows his really kind of wacky use of, I mean, just strange sounds. Very unusual guitar player. Or I'd probably just send you to the entire album of Talking Heads, Remain in Light. Belew is all over that record. As far as Fripp goes, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to pick from there. I mean, obviously, you probably want to pick something from King Crimson, although he has played on a bunch of other people's stuff. Peter Gabriel, and David Bowie, and all kinds of other people's material as well. I mean, probably his most iconic guitar line is the Heroes guitar line, for Bowie. But I probably want to pick a King Crimson tune. I don't know, Fracture. Like I know from Starless and Bible Black from that album. I know that Fripp himself has said that is the most difficult tune he's written to play. So I guess I believe him. It is pretty complex. All right. Number 16, in my view, the greatest guitar player in the Rolling Stones, Mick Taylor. Yeah, if I'm picking a tune, I got to go with Can't You Hear Me Knocking from Sticky Fingers. That solo in there is pretty awesome. At number 15, some of you might think this is a little low, but no, I admire him greatly. We got Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, of course. Page is um, very eclectic. I mean, I think even before Led Zeppelin, he was a very respected session guy who played on a lot of people's stuff. So he had kind of wide variety of styles and skills already in his toolbox when Zeppelin gets going, and you can hear it all through Zeppelin. I mean, from acoustic folk to obviously, you know, molten blues to blazing hard rock, whatever. I mean, Page could do a lot of different things. I've got a really specific track on him. My favorite song of his guitar playing is No Quarter, but the live version off of the otherwise kind of mediocre, in my view, the song remains the same. But if you listen to his solo on No Quarter on here, that that is my favorite Jimmy Page guitar solo. I love it. Now, be careful because they kind of remastered and reissued this, and I think they put a different take of No Quarter on the new one. So you got to go find the original one that's the one that I love. All right. Number 14, I got to go with my man Carlos Santana. Just fluid player. He's got speed, but he's got melody. He's got heart. He's got soul. The guy can kind of do all of it. If I'm picking a tune, I think it was in 1988. He put out this excellent, like a three record set, kind of compilation called Viva Santana. And on the reason I'm showing this is because on here he puts a lot of kind of alternate takes or just rare songs. Yeah, it's a comp, but it's also a lot of kind of unreleased material up to this point. And there is a song on here. It's tacked off at the end of Super Boogie called Hong Kong Blues, and it is just gorgeous instrumental with just that again that kind of flowing Santana style. I don't know if I were picking a kind of a favorite guitar solo of his, it might be that. All right, number 13, Eddie Van Halen. Van Halen. I mean, what are you gonna say? Um, got a Van Halen video. Depending on the order of this, you've either just seen it or you're about to see it. The next episode, I don't know, but got a Van Halen video coming up. We'll talk about Eddie there. I mean, I don't know. Do I pick an obvious one? Probably so. Eruption. I mean, I think that sort of that one song kind of changed people's perception of the guitar going into the 80s. All right, number 12 got Pete Townsend of the Who. While he is an excellent soloist, he can throw out a great guitar solo. I have him here because I just think his rhythm playing is so awesome. Just the speed on that right hand of his rhythm, it's amazing. Um, just listen to Pinball Wizard, right? With that that rhythm in there is great. I honestly though, I don't know. I like the Who's the overture on Tommy. That kind of acoustic breakdown near the end. He's a great acoustic player too. Yeah, Pete Townsend. It's hard to pick one representative song of his. All right, number 11 is a guy that some of you might not have heard of. I think most of these guys I've got here are pretty obvious, but number 11, I've got Michael Hedges. I got to thank my good buddy John, one of my old friends who kind of, well, I should have pulled it out here. I don't know where it is, but he gave me this record way back when. Michael Hedges live on the Double Planet. Their editor can just throw it up there. I have it. I just drawing a blank on where I have it in my back here, but yeah, live on the Double Planet. This guy, acoustic player, he's deceased now. He died in a car accident, tragically, but he I mean, you want to talk about innovation and really sort of changing what can be done with the acoustic guitar. Michael Hedges is amazing. I'd send you to that whole album, Live on the Double Planet. There's all kinds of great too. It's hard to pick one song that's really representative of what he can do. Ragamuffin is a good song. I don't know, but there you go. All right, getting into the top 10 here. Eric Clapton. I know his reputation has fallen a bit. There's a lot of Clapton haters out there. And yeah, I think he has been lazy for many decades. But Clapton at his best is still Clapton at his best. You know, if I had to pick one song, I think it would that I think shows him at his finest. It's hard to pick. Crossroads with Cream, that live track off of Wheels of Fire. That would probably be if I were going to send somebody like, especially someone who like wasn't too familiar, and had just heard more recent things and like, what's the big deal about Clapton? I say, well, go check out Crossroads. All right, number 9. One of the guys that probably had the most influence on me as a guitar player, especially in the acoustic realm, would be Neil Young. This is a great example of a guy who maybe doesn't have a lot of flash technical skills, but is all kind of heart and soul and just really. Although he can do some kind of interesting, complex things, kind of finger picking on the acoustic, but his electric is really just kind of heart and soul. And if I were picking one song, probably go to his electric side and go with Cortez the Killer. Either the studio version or there are a multitude of live versions out there. Take your pick. For some reason, whenever he goes into Cortez the Killer, it's just something special. Just kind of this languid but beautiful guitar playing. Takes you to a different place. All right, number 8. And again, this is where we're talking about. Are we talking objective or just favorites? If I were trying to make an objective list, I would have to put this guy at number 1. I think the most important electric guitar player, at least in rock and roll history. You know, and that's got to be Jimi Hendrix. I love Hendrix. We'll do a Hendrix video at some point. But in my personal list of guitar players, I've got him at a respectable number 8. I guess Voodoo Child. Yeah, Voodoo Child off of Electric Ladyland would probably be just an incredible use of the wah pedal. Just a clinic in using that. All right, at number 7, a guy I've talked about a lot already, that already did a video on his band, talking about Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. Just, total, I don't know, just great feel, blues rock at its best. If I were to pick a song, maybe I'd send you to the entire Tres Hombres album, or a couple particular songs off of the previous album. I'd either go with Just Got Paid, because that shows you just how great he was at coming up with killer riffs, and some great slide playing in there too. Or Sure Got Cold After the Rain Fell, which is also, both of those songs are off of their second record, Rio Grande Mud. But that shows just what a great straight blues player he is. All right. Number 6, I do have Mr. Dwayne Allman, rest in peace, of the Allman Brothers Band. I've got a really specific example of what you should listen to for him, although maybe it's not perfectly representative, because he is, of course, renowned as the great slide player. But my favorite moment of his on the guitar, he's not playing the slide. He's just playing a straight solo. But it is what it is. In Memory of Elizabeth Reed off of At Fillmore East, he plays the second guitar solo. The first guitar solo is Dickie Betts, and he's great. But that second guitar solo in Memory of Elizabeth Reed off of At Fillmore East is Dwayne Allman, and it is just transcendently great. That's my favorite moment of his. Okay, we're getting into top 5. These guys, I get excited every time I hear any of these 5 guys play. These are the guys that I really admire. I admire everyone on the list, obviously. But at number 5, got Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac. Just, the guy can do a lot of different things. A lot of people maybe don't think of him as much because he's such a craftsman, and a great producer. And what he plays is often in service of the song instead of just sort of showing off. But you really listen to what he's doing, especially when he's kind of classically trained, or at least he trained himself, when he's playing some acoustic stuff, his finger picking. Whenever I'm trying to convince somebody that Lindsey Buckingham is amazing, I send them to one place. And my friend John, that I had mentioned earlier, who introduced me to Michael Hedges, I distinctly remember we're driving around in the car, and I was like, "Listen to this, dude." I remember he made me replay it like 10 times. It was so good. I'm talking about off of The Dance, this live reunion album from 1997, when they kind of came back together, the classic lineup, and did this live album. Lindsey Buckingham has a couple of solo acoustic tunes, and his version of Big Love, it got a lot of airplay at the time. I remember the video, but if you're like, why is Lindsey Buckingham so great? Go listen to Big Love off of The Dance. It's Lindsey Buckingham doing just solo acoustic, phenomenally great. All right, number four. I told you guys, well, one of the things I really admire in a guitar player is sort of like an identifiable sound that, if I just hear this guy playing on even some song I'm unfamiliar with, I'll immediately, yeah, that's him. This guy maybe has the most identifiable sound of all. I don't know, just his tone, the way he plays. He often doesn't play real fast, kind of seemingly simple lines, but they are just so melodic, so well thought out. Every note this guy plays has a purpose. David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, just amazing. I don't know if I'm picking a song, probably go with the obvious, but it's obvious for a reason. Listen to his solos and Comfortably Numb, and some live versions of that song too. Just great, great solos. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I need to say about David Gilmour, but all right, my top three. Here we go. My top three. This guy probably has had the most influence on me as a guitar player, especially on the acoustic. He's a killer electric player, but he's here because of his acoustic playing. Talking about Stephen Stills. Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills and Nash, Buffalo Springfield, solo. Again, excellent electric player, top notch, but it's his acoustic playing that just knocks me out. Man, it's hard to pick one tune. I love his finger picking on Helplessly Hoping from the debut Crosby, Stills and Nash album. Um, Bluebird from Buffalo Springfield. Now, there's some great electric playing, which I think a lot of that is Neil Young, but you get kind of later, like it's at least halfway into the song, the acoustic guitar solo is Stills. That's incredible. Go listen to Bluebird, listen to that acoustic guitar solo. It's just so on, so great. There's another great song. If you some great just finger picking acoustic and recorded really well is Treetop Flyer from his. Actually, I have this. I don't think I ever put it on vinyl, so I just have it on CD. I should have pulled it out, but it's on my CD shelf. But editor can just throw a picture up here. But this album he put out called Stills Alone, and it's just a solo acoustic album of his. Some of it's all right, but Treetop Flyer is on that album. That is just an amazing, just such great, just acoustic finger picking. God, so good. Steven Stills. All right, number two. Number two, in my opinion, is the greatest living electric guitar player. Um, at least, in our genre that we focus on, rock and roll, whatever. Just incredible playing. I've seen him live twice. Blew me away both times. Talk about Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck. I think part of why he isn't. There's several reasons. I'll do a Jeff Beck video at some point. I think he's in our poll. I think this video is going up before the end of our current poll. But if y'all pick him, we'll do him then. But I'll do him later if he didn't pick in the poll, whatever. I don't know if you guys ever watch Rick Beato. He's an amazing YouTube channel. Rick Beato. He's an incredible musician too. He does he demonstrates a lot of stuff. But he did a great video fairly recently. You should go look it up. Basically on like why Jeff Beck, why nobody can copy or imitate Jeff Beck, or nobody can play like Jeff Beck, and it's a really good video, sort of explanation on why Jeff Beck is just such a killer guitar player. He gets sounds out of the guitar that no one else can get, and it's not that he uses all kinds of fancy gear or tricks. It's just the way he plays. It's kind of interesting. He plays the electric guitar, but he doesn't use a pick. Like it's all fingers. As is my number one guy too. It's interesting. But my two number one guys are electric players mostly, but also finger pickers. It's a pattern there. Um, but yeah, so Jeff Beck. I I don't know where to send you for one song as an example, because you got lots of different styles. I guess maybe because we have ended as lovers off of Blow by Blow, maybe that. Now that's one of his slower songs, but it really shows you just the gorgeous sounds he can get out there. He can also play super fast and really gritty. So there's a lot of different styles of his. An interesting thing about Jeff Beck, where a lot of his contemporaries like Clapton and Page have definitely like slowed down in their older years, Beck just gets kind of more interesting as he gets older. Some of his greatest stuff is in the 21st century, like greatest albums. Yeah, we'll talk Beck later. All right, number one. There's also a guy I think featured on our poll with his band Dire Straits. I'm talking about Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler is my favorite guitar player. Again, a finger picker, even on the electric. Yeah, I that was my first concert I ever attended. It was Dire Straits in Houston, 1985, August. Um, it totally changed my perception of music and the Brothers in Arms tour. Mark Knopfler is just there's just something about his playing that always pulls me in. Now he's another player like I was talking about. He's done a lot of sessions. He's played on a lot of other people's stuff. You know, you listen to a Van Morrison song, you listen to a Bob Dylan song, you listen to all these different artists where Knopfler has guested, and where like I don't even know that he's guesting, but I hear the guitar playing, like that's Mark Knopfler, and I'll go look up the credits, and sure enough, there he is. You know, I mean, his playing is immediately identifiable. I think a lot of that is his finger picking. Um, I've been a little disappointed in his solo career, but for me, his work with Dire Straits is just, I mean, this gets me every time. If I were going to pick a song as an example, that's kind of hard to do, obviously. I think live, Dire Straits live was a kind of a different animal than in the studio. They just sort of ratcheted it up a few notches in concert. I saw them a couple times. Well, in addition to that very first show I saw. I don't know if I'm going to pick a song. I'd probably send you to their live album Alchemy, and probably either the Tunnel of Love. Oh, God, it's hard to say. The Tunnel of Love on there, or Sultans of Swing on here. See, live, Dire Straits would often expand their songs, you know, at least double the length of the studio versions, and Knopfler would just go off, and I just love that. So, yeah, Tunnel of Love or Sultans of Swing. I love his acoustic playing on the classical on Private Investigations too. That's, God, anyway, Mark Knopfler, my personal favorite. Well, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with this. You know, with this kind of a long list, but I think I tried to go through pretty quick. Um, did I miss somebody? Is there, you know, who do you really like? Put it in the comments. Let's have a good discussion on guitar players. I mean, that's what this is all about. Please do subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Um, please do like the videos. It really, you know, all that stuff helps us out. Hit the bell for notifications. Let you know whenever we're putting out new material. And we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.